All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started, Bob and Matt.
Sounds good. Well,
All right. So, welcome everyone. My name is Jim Tedesco. I'm going to be the host for today's presentation. Eliminate the guesswork when buying engineering workstations, presented by both Bob McGoy, a senior application engineer here at Computer Aided Technology, and Matt Allard from Dell. Going to be here talking about helping how to pick the right workstation, and also diving into a great new partnership that we have here with Dell, and what that means for you. So without further ado, without any further wait, going to kick things over to Bob McGoy to get us started. So Bob, take it away.
okay, thanks, Jim. Um, well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Bob McGoy. I'm one of the senior applications engineers here at Computer Aided Technology. Been with the company for 20 years, ran SolidWorks, a bunch of other CAD systems, but my job here is to find solutions for designers and manufacturers. A couple things about us here at CATI. Um, we've been in business for quite some time. There's been an evolution of things. We were the first reseller in 95. About the time I started with the company, we founded another company called Inflow Technologies, which focuses on data management. A few years later, we started partnering in the 3D printing realm with Stratasys. Um, I, being the emerging products manager here at Computer Aided Technology, worked with a company called Creaform to bring in scanning and reverse engineering into the company. A few years later, we started acquiring some of our competitors and merging those with CATI, with 3D Vision and Fisher Unitech, if you've heard some of those names. We also merged with a company called K-Links, which is a high-end simulation product company. So we have quite a few things that have happened over the years, and these are just some of the things. When I first started with the company, there were 5 AEs, 5 application engineers. Now we have over 100, I think 150 application engineers here to serve your needs. And when we talk about serving your needs, um, we can basically serve you nationwide now. I mean, we go from coast to coast. Um, we have tech support from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. We were the first reseller of SolidWorks in North America. So we have over 34 different offices available for you. And I mean, quite a bit of information here. But the big thing is, what do we solve for you as designers and manufacturers? And at the end of the day, our job is to take these critical issues that you have in your company and turn them into getting your products to market faster, more effective, and with less cost. Some of the things that we work with as Computer Aided Technologies, we sell SolidWorks, we sell Dassault, Creaform, all these different tools are available to you. So in software, 3D printing, workstations, scanning, training, it's basically one throat to choke. Give you everything that you need to get your job done. So other things that we work with, here are some of the services we provide: PLM, simulation, 3D printing, 3D scanning, and most important, tech support. We have at a minimum 25 application engineers every day just waiting for you to call and answer the phone and work with you on your problems and give you solutions. So when you call, you get our local team here in the US, and they'll be there to help you through your needs. Now, going back to the reason why I am here is, for the last few years, we have SolidWorks World. Now it's called 3D Experience World. Myself and one of my coworkers, Brian Pollock, we put on a presentation called Achieving Extreme Performance Inside of SolidWorks. And how do we do that? We do testing. We do lots and lots of testing. So we test graphics cards, drivers, CPUs, RAM, assemblies of different sizes, geometric complexities. We go through SOLIDWORKS settings, hardware settings. So now the question is, how do we do that? We worked with a programmer on our team. His name's Bob Hansen, and we created our own benchmarking tool. Now, SOLIDWORKS has its own benchmarking tool built into it, but we felt like the amount of time that it takes to get that benchmark complete is way too small. So instead of 3 or 4 minutes to run a benchmark, we created a benchmark that can run on any file given to us. And we make sure that that benchmark runs for hours. What that allows us to do is over time, we are able to take out mathematical abnormalities and say, those don't count. We want to see what the averages are on these. So what are we testing? We're testing SOLIDWORKS, we're opens, closes, pack and goes, rebuilds, modifying the assemblies. We're doing all of these things with any model that we throw into it. And what I mean by that is we take one aspect about the computer or the software and we make one change. So we start with the CPU. We get a CPU that is at a certain clock speed, and then we duplicate the whole setup on that CPU speed. So RAM, video card, hard drive configuration. And then once we've done that, we take one of 14 different SOLIDWORKS settings and run a test against that one setting. We run that test 5 to 10 times, and then we go back, keep the hardware setting the way it is, and we change to the next hardware setting of 14. What this results in is we have hardware that have been running nonstop for 5 years, creating millions and millions of data points. And what that gives us is some very important information. So one of the things that we find is RAM. When you have RAM, when you have enough RAM in your system to load that SOLIDWORKS file into memory, got enough. Hard drives are no longer a limiting factor. With the new NVMe solid state drives, that's not the limiting factor. A long time ago when we had spinner drives, those could be a limiting factor, but now we have enough bandwidth in the hard drives that it doesn't make much of a difference. What does make the difference is our CPU speed. As you can see here, from left to right, this is how much time it takes to complete certain tasks inside of SOLIDWORKS, and we switched out the CPU until we went from 2.6 all the way to 5 gigahertz. And you can see the more clock speed we throw at it, the faster we're going to be. Then the next question is, on that CPU, well, what do I need? Do I need 16 cores? Do I need 32 cores? When it comes to SOLIDWORKS, you only need about 4 cores. So get the lowest core count you get, but the fastest processor you can get. So there's lots of different information that we've captured over the years here. And what's great about this is we've taken all these years of data that we've had, and we partnered with Dell, and we partnered with NVIDIA, and we've curated with them what we consider to be the easiest to configure set of hardware for using SOLIDWORKS. And that's what our friends here at Dell are going to talk about here in a second.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I'm going to hand things over to Matt. Matt, going to make you the presenter here.
Thank you. I appreciate
There you
it.
go. Yep, you're welcome.
Awesome. I got it. And I'm going to just put this slide in front of you. So, hey, welcome everybody. It's Matt Allard. So I'm Director of Strategic Alliances with Dell's Performance PC group. That includes our workstation division, Precision Workstations group. And, the nature of my job is to actually work with our software vendors like SOLIDWORKS and I actually do this in a number of markets, not just engineering, but AEC, manufacturing, and also media and entertainment. And we're really excited about partnering with the computer-aided technology and with their customers because I think the approach that Bob just described is very much an approach that we subscribe to ourselves. So when we talk about partnering with somebody like SOLIDWORKS, It is all about testing. It is all about helping customers make better informed decisions about making their workflows go faster. And so, having kind of the knowledge, expertise, and history with SolidWorks that computer-aided technology brings is really amazing. Just a great way to start the partnership, and really amplifies what we try to do in designing, engineering, and certifying precision workstations with SolidWorks and other applications. So at the heart of our workstations, we really kind of look at these three values, all about performance. Most everybody's work here in this area is driven by how fast they can get things done, how productive they can be, being able to iterate more, work on more complex models. This is a huge pursuit. And we equally see that reliability, the ability to actually count on the machine to just get the work done, and not have to worry about it. And listen, in the event that something does go wrong, that you've got a substantial organization backing it up. And I know, again, we're kind of kindred here in spirits in that area where Bob really voiced nicely how much computer-aided technology works to support you as customers. Same with Dell. Like, we really are here to back up our systems and our hardware, and it's not just about the system components. It is about how the software runs, and again, that's part of the interface that I provide at Dell, is that connection back to SolidWorks. If our customers have issues, we have a way to escalate within SolidWorks or with NVIDIA or what have you. At the end of the day, we want the systems to be all about immersive productivity. We want you to be able to just do your work, and the machine sort of falls away, that you are not paying attention because the machine just keeps up. It lets you focus on the job at hand and not on the mechanics of the machine. So I think I said that Dell does some of the same things that computer-aided technology does. We actually work toward building these kinds of recommended configurations for machines. We publish those publicly. I'm going to say that computer-aided technology takes it several steps further in terms of the level of detail they go through in their testing. And in fact, in our efforts to work with them to identify machines, they've come down with really 4 primary configurations that are against all of the learnings and all of the analysis that they've done. And I'll share with those with you in a minute. One of the things that we like to let folks know about Dell is that Dell precision workstations, the hardware is critically important, but it's more than the hardware. It's also about the software that sits on top of the hardware. One of the most important pieces of software is this Dell Optimizer for Precision. This is a piece of software that does what it suggests, was it helps optimize your experience while you're on the machine. So one of the most important functions is this express response feature. We actually use artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms as part of the software to understand how any individual person works with a piece of software, and we can actually tune the machine for that kind of usage and extract a few more percentage points in performance in general, kind of on average. And again, a few percentage points may not feel like a lot, but when you're talking about a long-term project and something that you're spending tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on to develop, this can be a pretty material percentage increase in performance. We have express sign-in functions that actually uses the presence sensing and biometrics to express sign you in. I actually was pleasantly surprised by this at one point, where it actually recognizes different individuals by their biometrics and will log in that specific person under more than one account on the machine. So something I discovered. Some of the other things that are really important when we're talking about SolidWorks workflows, when you're dealing with storage heavy applications, like dealing with complex models or complex visualizations, we can really bring additional tuning and optimization for those kinds of workflows by tuning the way the storage is handled. And we do provide reporting analytics. So if you're not certain how your machine's running with your particular workflow, we can give you some analysis on that. Again, computer-aided technology has done a ton of that work up front for you, so you actually are going to be getting a machine that's really built for the kinds of workflows that they work with you on every single day. I'll also mention this piece of software just briefly. If you do a lot of visualization work with SolidWorks Visualize, for instance, we have Premiere Color software, and we actually use Premiere Color as a way to designate some of the screens on mobiles and standalone workstations. But these are screens that have wider color coverage, so you have kind of what you see is what you get color environment. So if you're, I can tell you if you're doing work for Dell, the Dell blue better be right, and this is one of the ways to make sure you're seeing the right color blue. It has great coverage for Adobe RGB and sRGB and P3 if you're doing video work. And the software part allows you to control the color rendition on the screen and help you calibrate the screen either by eye, or you can connect an external piece of calibration hardware if you'd like. So again, we pay attention to the details, and I think for anybody that's doing visually critical work, this is a really nice addition to the hardware. So I think if you're not very familiar with the Precision product line, the portfolio is a combination of mobiles, towers, and racks. We've focused on the computer-aided technology customers around mobiles and towers, and a few models here that I'm going to review in brief. So I wanted to start with our towers. So this is one of the ones that we've Computer-Aided Technology is recommending. This is a really amazing small form factor desk side kind of workstation. This is one that we just started shipping earlier this year in about May. Does support Core and Xeon processors and professional NVIDIA graphics up to P1000 graphics in this machine, and that's sitting on a Gen 4 PCIe Gen 4 graphics slot. If you're not familiar with PCIe versions, Gen 4 is kind of the latest version with double the potential bandwidth. So it's a nice capability. Plenty of RAM expandability in this machine, up to 128 gigabytes. The software I mentioned, some of the other Dell Optimizer features that I mentioned, and again, built-in Ethernet. So it's an amazing machine in a very, very small form factor environment. Really quite capable in terms of running some of the SolidWorks workflows that we're talking about. So awesome machine, and one of my new favorites. Probably my favorite of our launches this year is this one, though. This is a kind of a mini tower format. It's being a little bit bigger, it gives us a little bit more power, a little bit more expandability. And in fact, what really changes with this machine is the graphics capacity. So with this machine, we've got bigger power supply, bigger cooling, so we can put a much more capable graphics card in here. I know the unit that we have in the computer-aided technology site is a RTX 4000 a GPU, which is an incredibly powerful machine, a GPU. And again, lots of flexibility in configuration. We really do favor the solid state storage. We've come to the same conclusion as Bob mentioned, that you really want those high performance solid state drives, particularly M.2 drives. Those are the ones that sit directly on the PCIe bus. That talks directly to the processor, talks directly to the GPU in a very high speed way. So that really eliminates the bottleneck, and we do support high capacities there, up to 3 M.2s for 6 terabytes of storage. So plenty of expandability, plenty of storage expandability, and again, some of the other software features we've mentioned. If you're doing, collaboration across network, you'll notice that we often have options for high-speed networking, like 10 gigabit Ethernet. I know some people who work off of shared storage or share all, or maintain all their project files. Essentially, that's a nice option to have available.
Yeah, Matt, when it comes to that RTX 4000, we actually worked with NVIDIA for the
Yep.
launch of that at SOLIDWORKS World.
Awesome. Very
And
cool. Yep.
hands down, it's probably my favorite video card in like the last 5 years. The engineers over there, they optimize the drivers for that primarily for SolidWorks,
Yep.
and it just smokes just about everything I can find.
Yeah, so I mean, its capacity to move geometry, just the basics, is really quite stunning. And then,
Yeah,
because it's RTX, it has a few other additional capabilities, like,
yeah, that ray tracing engine is really nice.
yeah. So for ray tracing acceleration, it's pretty cool and capable feature. So kind of getting,
So for those of you running Visualize,
yeah,
you're gonna like it.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, exactly the point. And I'm not as, again, you may know more about SolidWorks, but I know some of my ISVs in the media and entertainment space are using some of the machine learning algorithm acceleration in the RTX card
Yeah,
for some functions. And by the way, if it's high probability they're in some of the rendering software, they're using deep learning super sampling, which is also accelerated in
they
RTX.
are.
So yeah,
So like in Visualize, they have the artificial intelligence denoiser.
right. The denoiser there
So
too. Yep.
so that's one of those using that machine learning to figure out as it's looking at a surface, it's got all the noise on the surface, all of a sudden, boop, gone. And that's
Yep.
because it realizes, oh, I kind of understand what that surface is going to be, and it
Yeah.
removes that noise automatically.
Okay. Yep. So that AI denoising function, yeah, it gets accelerated on RTX cards. So it's one of the reasons we're close partners with NVIDIA is that they really are leading the charge on not just the basics of what we expect of the graphics cards, which is moving
Right.
geometry, but they're adding additional functionality in hardware that accelerates SolidWorks even further. So it's really exciting stuff. I think to me, we're just starting to see companies like SolidWorks leverage that capability and deliver great things for end customers who use it every day.
Yeah.
So this machine, really great expandability, and because it can support these beefy GPUs, it really changes the game quite a bit. So this is a machine I just got to look at. I had my first one in my home office here about a month ago, and it is quite sweet. So I'm
Uh,
actually have one on order for permanent location in my house here. So I'm looking forward to it.
and I can't wait to get my hands on one so I can start benchmarking off of
Okay, yeah, I want to hear what you hear about that. So
it.
I think our excitement here about RTX. The reality is that you can now get RTX in even our thinnest and lightest mobile workstation, and like before my current mobile, I had the previous generation of this one, and it's an awesome machine. I mean, let's start. It's 15-inch mobile workstation, but I hope you notice that it's actually under 4 pounds. And the way we sort of shave so much weight off this is you'll notice there's very little extra sort of bezels or wasted space. It's all screen. We call this infinity edge, but there's zero bezels on all four sides. So again, our whole thinking about design of machines is the front of screen experience, how you experience the machine. If we can keep anything out of the way, including there's no Dell logo on that screen any longer. We used to have a Dell logo at the bottom,
Yeah.
but mostly that was just we needed the space there in the bezel. Now we don't need that anymore. They've done really great engineering work to reduce that. So where there's really no wasted space on it. Full size keyboard, but beautiful screen. So you'll see that. Again, this is up to 8 core processors on this machine. And as I was sort of leading into, it does support in this generation up to RTX A2000 graphics. You can do the A1000, which is without RTX, or A2000, which has the RTX functionality. So it has that ray tracing acceleration, has machine learning cores, in addition to all the geometry capability. So this is a big step up for this generation of 15-inch thin and light for us. It's also no slouch in terms of storage expandability. You can put 2 M.2 drives in this machine for up to 4 terabytes and up to 64 gigabytes of memory, which is a huge amount of memory for most of these workflows. The memory is actually higher speed than last generation at 3200 megahertz, and it has the latest generation Thunderbolt 4. So if you are connecting external peripherals like peripheral drives, the Thunderbolt drives will be super fast on this machine. It's up to 80 gigabits per second theoretical transfer speed over Thunderbolt. So we had great high, the 4K screen is an HDR capable screen, HDR 400, 100% Adobe RGB, and 99% P3 coverage. So you really have a great, what you see is what you get environment with the 4K screen, and improved Wi-Fi on this model.
Yeah,
so
the Wi-Fi 6 protocol is kind of nice to see there.
Yeah, this is quite a machine, and it's one of the ones that like I had several generations ago, 5530. It's a great machine, but I missed the added power of RTX, and so I'm totally psyched about this one being in the mix.
I like that. That's an Ampere card as well. So
yeah. So our new mobiles that were announced, in June, all feature the new Amperes. So we really moved forward pretty quick. And I'll mention that. So part of Ampere is they're all PCIe Gen 4 architecture, and of course we built the whole motherboard and infrastructure to support Gen 4 as well. So the storage is Gen 4, the graphics are Gen 4, and so you've got the highest speed pipes internally to move your models around, which is really what it's all about. So I think, similarly here, I'm excited to see how your benchmarks play out with this machine, because it should be a very capable machine in a package that's less than 4 pounds.
Yeah, we've been waiting for the Gen 4 motherboards to release so we can start testing those NVMEs in that state, because we really are curious how much faster that could potentially be, if it's faster at all.
Yeah, we're finding that if you pair Gen 4, it has to be a Gen 4 M2 drive, an NVMe drive, and a Gen 4 motherboard and Gen 4 graphics. It's pretty striking, like pretty huge, transfer increases for sustained transfers, like on my media and entertainment side for video, which is kind of a constant flow of information. It's huge. But for model loads and rendering, anything where you're moving data, to and from your GPU or to and from memory, it's going to make a pretty substantial difference.
So boys and girls, when you go and buy your upgraded hard drive that you want to throw in there, make sure you get the Gen 4.
That's
you don't want the Gen 3. It'll still work, but it's not quite as fast. Don't do that.
Yep. So that's where we're definitely leaning toward folks toward that, because it is the best choice you can make right now. So the last model we'll spend a little bit of time talking about is actually right at the top of our line, and so a lot of things that Bob and I were talking about hold, but just more so. And so you'll see this machine, our 5 series mobiles, their kind of design center is about high performance, but as thin and light as we can make them. With the 7 series, it's performance. It's just straight up performance. Doesn't mean they're beastly huge, but they are bigger. And you can see, a little more bezel here on the screen. We're a bit beefier. So this is a 17-inch screen, a little under 7 pounds on this machine. Again, similar processor selection with up to 45 watts of power, but where it really starts kicking butt is the GPUs. So in this case, we can get up to a 16 gigabyte graphics card, the RTX A5000, again, Ampere graphics. That's running, in a Gen 4 architecture. One of the things I'll just point out, and again, some of the stuff, I like what you guys do, Bob, because you make it easy on your customers to pick the right machine. One of the things I like to share is some of the things that they may not know about the way machines are designed to be a little bit more better informed. So one of the things you have inside any mobile workstation is a power budget. And so one of the power budgeted items is how much power do you give to that RTX A5000? We give this RTX A5000 115 watts. That's a huge budget of power for that card. I know if you've looked at our competitors, a lot of them will run at 85 and 90 watts, which simply means they won't run as fast.
Right.
We have the
thermal throttling going on. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So we have the capacity to run this at up to 115 watts of power because we have the capacity in this larger size machine. And with really a engineered thermal system to cool that to keep it running at full speed, to not have some of that those sort of thermal slowdowns that you get on lesser machines.
Did
So we,
did
yeah, go
have a
ahead.
question that popped over.
Oh, cool. Yeah, what's
Uh,
up?
so it is a laptop. So
Yes,
how warm does that puppy get when it's spooling up to say turbo speed there?
it can get warm. Yeah, it can get warm. Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, I think, let's
Let's be honest. If you need to dry your pants, you put it on your
drying and
lap.
pressing. Yeah, yeah. I think the way I think about these machines is as mobile desktop replacements. That's
Yeah,
kind of the way to think of them. So
right.
we're
You don't want to
packing.
set this on your lap at work.
No,
It's
you
basically what I'm
probably
saying.
don't. Yeah, and it's got some venting underneath. We want to make sure that that venting's clear to
Yeah,
to provide it, because any PC, when it gets too hot, will slow down to protect
yeah.
its components. Ours
Of
too.
course it will.
But the goal is to try to minimize that under normal operations and to give it as much power and juice as possible. So anyway, this machine, from a graphics standpoint, has multiple options up to the A5000, which is an incredible card, incredible capability. Um, as you move up the line, you also get higher performance in terms of the number of M2 slots available to you. So this, where the 15-inch we showed you had 2 slots, this has up to 4. Now, so 4 becomes kind of interesting because you could configure things to
Yeah.
for higher performance for some workflows. So if you had a really storage intense workflow, you could actually do, say, your OS on one drive and then RAID a couple of the other M2 drives for even higher performance.
Right.
So that's a pretty interesting workflow in some areas where you're moving a lot of stuff, a lot of files around. So again, this supports even more RAM, up to 128 gigabytes. And you have a choice in this case of either 3200 megahertz memory, or in this machine, we've actually introduced 3466 megahertz memory. And so, again, the whole system is built for speed overall. Also supports the Thunderbolt 4. This, provides very similar display characteristics. Curiously, this actual display supports up to 120 hertz refresh rate, which is kind of an interesting feature that some folks may be interested in, for visualization activities. The Wi-Fi 6, and I'll just point out one of the unique features of our 7000 series is you can put a 5G radio in this. So if
Yeah.
you were in an environment where you were mobile a lot and you had, a 5G rollout in your area, this could be an interesting opportunity to do high-speed networking from this machine.
And
So,
another thing that I like about this chassis, if you notice, you get a view of the left-hand side of this laptop, and you've got 2 Thunderbolt connectors sitting next to each other.
yep.
So on my desk, I have the dual Thunderbolt port replicator. It's something you want to be aware of because this is it is very power hungry. So I have that dual Thunderbolt. It plugs for the port replicator. It plugs 2 plugs in at the same time, but it supplies enough power for it to run 4 displays and
Huh.
actually charge the device.
Wow. Okay.
So, and that is a Dell branded port replicator. I love that thing.
Awesome. Yeah.
If I can find the link for it, I'll put it in the chat. But
Yep.
that thing saves my keister because I have
Yeah.
I have 4 displays going, and
Yep.
I plug one cable in, and I don't have to plug anything back in my laptop.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You can do, I think you can do 4 directly from this device, but you'll need every port on the device. So if you
Yep.
want some for spare ports, what we call the docking stations, they are Thunderbolt docking stations. We have new ones for these new models I've announced, and they really are quite handy if you want, dedicated monitor connections and a little bit more connectivity beyond what's on the device. Now, this machine, you don't see the right-hand side, but and the back, it's got lots of connectivity
Oh yeah.
built in, but to your point, if you're connecting a pile of monitors, it's nice to have that not eating all your I/O ports.
Yeah,
uh,
it's just nice because if you run back into the office and you're like, I need to be on a meeting in 5 minutes, it's one cable, turn the sucker on with the button, and you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. That's very, very true. So, the other thing is you'll see when you, visit the computer-aided technology site on Dell.com that, these models will be front and center for you, but you have access to kind of everything that Dell has to offer, and you do get this special discount that we're offering, and the ability to finance those things through that site. So I always say there's the Thunderbolt dock, that the
Yeah,
WD19 TB. That's the one that we
that's it.
recommend for the 7760. But other peripherals we carry, like the 3D mice and standalone monitors, if you decide you want those monitors like Bob's running. We do have some really great monitors, and I would just encourage you. One of the challenges with a company as big as Dell is sometimes figuring out what monitor is right for you. And I could say anybody that's doing color critical work, look toward the Ultra Sharp brand. That's the brand that is where higher resolution, better color fidelity, better brightness, contrast ratios, all those things that are kind of functional. And you see, I included like this colorimeter. If you want to calibrate a display using our Premier Color software, that'll work with it. Things like VR headsets, we're a partner with HTC, so any of that kind of stuff is good additions, and again can all flow through the Dell site that I mentioned. So just gives you a brief introduction to kind of the Dell product line and what we think is important. And I think really a set of systems that has all of the intelligence, all the learning that computer-aided technology has done in their testing, along with our sort of insights as well. And I think a great offering, and I'll say between the folks at Computer-Aided Technology who can help you with any of your questions. Of course, from a technology standpoint, part of the relationship we have is to extend our technical experts about Dell's product line as well. So just know that we're always there for you too, to help in any of those decisions. And with that, I don't know if we have additional questions, or we had a few poll questions. Maybe we should run one of those poll questions. What do you think?
Sure, no problem. Just give me 1 second here. We'll get that popped up. Those are custom configurations that we've done. So one of the things that's really nice about Dell is you can go grab a machine and configure it any particular way you want. And there's tons of almost infinite possible configurations. What we've done with that www.dell.com/CATI is we've curated it so the things that make sense for SolidWorks users are in there. So you're going to have only a few options, but they're options that make sense for SolidWorks users.
Yep, and I'm sharing the landing page, Bob, just in case people weren't sure. And this is how you get to those configurations, how you can actually see what's been recommended. There's some additional content here and ways you can reach Dell. The big one here is, of course, getting your additional percentage off of what you buy through the site, so you can get your coupon there. And if you want more information about the benefits, that you get through this connection. And we've got a dedicated account executive that is here to serve our customers here. So that's specific to our relationship with computer-aided technology. Is Wes is available to you.
So that's awesome. Yep. That you actually have somebody to call and say, "Hey, I want this."
Yeah, we wanted to make this easy, and I think it's the whole idea is that it's easy because you have recommendations you can trust from computer-aided technology, and you have someone from Dell you can call on, and hey, you get a discount and along with that. So just definitely go visit the site, check it out. We've tried to build that out with the help of computer-aided technology to really serve you guys that are on the line.
Excellent.
Awesome. So, well, thanks again, Bob. Thanks again, Matt. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. We'll have a recording available as well, so keep an eye out for that, and we'll get that out to everyone who registered for the event today, so you can get all the information that we covered here today. So awesome. And I don't know, Bob, if you had anything else to wrap up, or think we might be good.
I can't think of anything. This was a lot of fun. Matt, we should do it again.
I agree. It was a good time. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
So I'll go ahead and open the poll up. So on the right-hand side, there should be a polling option. It'll be with the chats and Q&A. So it looks like we already have some answers coming in here. Well, you just let me know, Matt, when you want me to shut her down, and we'll share some results here.
Cool. Well, let's go give them a couple more seconds here. We'll let them.
So it looks like right now it's a neck and neck 50-50 on the answers for mobile and tower. Not a lot of rack servers or VDI solutions right now. I believe I only have like 2 or 3 that are currently doing that.
Yep, and that pretty much reflects our experience. Maybe you should close that one, Bob.
Yeah, not a problem.
You know, that's what we've seen. I think if you turn back the clock 24 months, we probably sold more towers than mobiles. And I think just given the dynamic of everybody working from home and sort of what the pandemic brought, we saw a shift toward mobiles. But I actually look at it as more than the whole work from home and working remotely. I think mobiles have really crossed into a place where they're really credible for workflows that wouldn't have been possible historically. I think the level of performance, the level of capability, as I said, at the top end, we were confident about replacing desktop machines with our 7000 series mobile, for instance. So they've become more common because guess what? Even if you are in the office, you probably bring your work home. That's the way things are these days.
So I got a couple more questions. You want me to fire those off, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so let's go ahead and open that poll up. So the question is, when it comes to new hardware, what is the most important thing? Is it performance, price, reliability, and support? Or is it something else that's just that intangible thing?
As people are thinking about that, it looked like there was a question here that I think is worth answering.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, let me just get back to it. So somebody asked about if we compare professional graphics cards, for example, the RTX 4000 or A4000, with a gaming card like a 3080 in the same price, we found that the specifications of the card show better performance. Which graphics card is better for SolidWorks? So this is a great question, and I think it goes back to engineering and design intent. Right? So, at Dell, we build gaming machines. It's our Alienware brand. We know all about gaming machines. We know how they operate. There is a real distinct difference in terms of how consumer graphics and professional graphics are engineered and how they work. So first off, gaming graphics and consumer graphics like a 3080 tends to be really great for short bursts of high performance kind of thing. So if you're hitting that boss level in the game, that card is going to work at peak performance. It's going to heat up and it's going to be okay. The difference we find in professional graphics is they're built like a race car. Is the best analogy I can make. You put the race car on the track, you're going to run it, for 500 miles flat out, and that's how most of our professional customers work. And the idea is that it's not going to step into a throttling mode because of the way it's engineered.
Right.
So the way that NVIDIA engineers those professional cards is they're much more predictable in terms of thermals and how they throw off thermals. They're built with a way that can operate nicely inside towers or in mobiles, where you can build a thermal design out of them that exhausts the heat and keeps them running at peak performance. It's much more difficult on the consumer graphics side. And I'll just say the other part of this that's, I think, important to recognize is the driver level for those graphics cards is very predictable on the professional side.
Yep.
So NVIDIA is quite disciplined about driver releases and fixing problems in professional cards. And this is, for us, this is an important escalation point. So if I have a customer running SolidWorks on Precision, they have an issue that routes back to a driver issue, I can report that to NVIDIA, and NVIDIA will put it in their fix chain for the professional GPUs, and they'll fix it. I have no doubt they'll fix it. There's no guarantee they're going to touch it in the gaming side.
Yeah,
they might pick it up, they might not.
I kind of look at it almost like a Swiss Army knife in a sense.
Yeah.
You got professional. I mean, you've got the consumers for the video game market. You've got the professional for CAD and other things like that. they could write graphics drivers for both that would work for everything. But if you look at a Swiss Army knife, it has a pair of scissors, it has a spoon, it has a saw on it, but does it do a good job? Hell no. So what they do is they cater those drivers and they put a team to work on a particular task. So that 3080 you're talking about, that driver is geared for gaming. It's geared for video.
Exactly.
It's not geared for CAD. So just like that RTX 4000, they put hours and hours just looking how SOLIDWORKS renders files and figured out how can we make that better. They're
Yep.
not going to go back and say, how do I make the Unreal Engine work better on this RTX 4000? They're not going to do that because they want to focus on the market that card works with. I mean, hardware, yeah, they're both capable of pouring out teraflops and teraflops of data, but
Right.
what kind of data it is very important to understand.
Yeah.
I have tried those video cards, and I will tell you, there is no point in me even showing you the results. It is hands down, like we're talking rotten apple to a brand new orange, how much different they are running inside of SOLIDWORKS.
Yeah. So I think great answer, Bob, and I think that's why you'll see that our choices for professionals always lean to professional graphics, just because we know it's it's kind of a critical component in these workflows, and people don't like to take the risks around
Right.
unpredictability or a performance lag or anything else that's going to happen there. It's a great
So,
question. Thank you.
so
That's
yeah, it is a really good question. Looking at the poll results, hands down, it was performance. Why do I
great.
buy a new machine?
Yep.
And this goes back to something I posed the question to every engineering manager and every IT person on the planet. How much is that engineer and that designer worth to the company? Lots of money. How much is that piece of hardware compared to how much time it is? So typically you'll pay more for a faster clock speed. But we found for every gigahertz increase in clock speed you get, you're getting 25% faster performance on day-to-day operations inside of SOLIDWORKS. 25% of your time for your engineer getting that back is worth spending the extra money. So those are the types of things you need to look at, and performance is key there. So
Yep.
let's go ahead and clear this one out.
All right. There was another question here about kind of the different, Intel or Xeon, Intel Xeon or Core preferred. And I know it looks like CAD prefers Core in their recommendations. For us, we support both, but especially the Core i7s and i9s. At that level, you get good performance and good value. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, Bob.
So, I mean, the big reason over the years that we have looked at the i7s or the i series is mostly because they're focused on clock speed itself. When it comes to the Xeons, they're more focused on more cores and stability. And many times we found that if you buy the same year model Xeon versus an I, you usually got more clock speed out of the I series. Now, over the years, that has been changing a little bit, especially with the Gen 11s coming out and that sort of thing. So we're definitely reevaluating that Xeon versus I series. The other reason that we've looked at it that way is when you go to the Xeons, many times it does, and I don't know if this has changed or not, but it involves you have ECC RAM. And
Yep.
that was another thing that usually adds a little bit more to the cost. And usually for what we do as designers, that 1 in 300,000 chance that you have a bit flip, because that's what that ECC RAM takes care of, is those bit flips that happen.
Exactly. Yep.
Are we going to have that problem? Probably not. We would probably crash SOLIDWORKS before that 1 in 300,000 chance of actually having a bit flip. So what causes a bit flip? It could be a solar flare. Who the heck knows? I mean, some butterfly in South Africa can flap its wings and something causes a bit flip. But it's just a random thing that happens every so often and can cause a machine to crash. But it's very, very instant. The chances of that happening are very small.
Yep. So I think we have one more poll. Do you want to drop that up there, and then maybe
Yeah,
we have
not
a
a
question or
problem.
two left to answer?
So how frequently do you refresh your hardware? Is it 1 to 3 years, 4 to 6, or whenever there's a technological advancement that I need that yesterday? I prefer that I need it yesterday.
Yep. So I think other question I've got here is in liquid cooling GPUs at NVIDIA. I can just speak for us that, again, sort of liquid cooling introduces some additional engineering complexity in system design and
Right.
GPU design. So, I think there is some reasons to do it. There's also some real reasons not to do it, to kind of keep your engineering system as simple as possible. This is, again, one of those classic engineering
Yeah.
sort of decision points of keeping it simple is minimizing the chance for downtime or error. So that's
I would say mostly if I'm gonna thermally cool something, it's probably gonna be my CPU.
yep.
My GPU really, especially with what they've been doing with the SOLIDWORks graphical user interface and the pipeline there, they've been manipulating how they handle 3D data. So the graphics card still isn't being taxed 100%, you might say, but it's definitely taking advantage of the lowest hanging fruit that it can when it comes to graphics.
Yep.
So
So how did we do on that poll?
it was exactly what I expected, every 4 to 6 years.
Yeah, that's pretty much
So
consistent with what our experience has been.
and usually around year 3, year 4 is when people start saying, "Man, it just seems a little slow." So yeah, I've personally seen that myself. So let's go ahead and close that poll out, and we'll save that data for another time.
Excellent. So let's see. We've got a question about customers that want to stay on SolidWorks 2018. Is it a large risk to upgrade hardware to RTX A5000 if only SolidWorks 2021 is certified? Go
So
ahead, Bob.
so that's kind of an interesting year. That was when the beta for the performance pipeline came out. So I believe if you're on Service Pack 3 of 2018, you can use that performance pipeline, and a lot of the newer the hardware for graphics will take advantage of that performance pipeline. So anything before that, I mean, you're still going to get good performance out of it. I'd still recommend being on the newest branch of the drivers for that hardware. It used to be that we would only recommend certain branches of the video card drivers based upon the version that you're on. And now they really are recommending that you be on the newest branch of those drivers. And the reason for that was something that Matt brought up earlier. If he calls NVIDIA up and says, "Hey, we found out this issue," they're going to put that fix in the next branch. So
yep.
If you're sticking to an older version driver on an older version of software, you're probably not able to leverage the fixes they've already put into that. So I would recommend being on those newer branches. I would personally be perfectly comfortable going with the RTX Ampere card on a 2018 version of SolidWorks. If anything, you're going to be happy with that performance because the graphics engine back then was only capable of working with so much on the graphics processor, but now it's got quite a bit more power that it can leverage. So those intangible things are probably going to come up. How long do I have to wait before I hit the mouse wheel before the mouse actually starts spinning the model? I think you'll be happy with that.
Yep. So maybe a short answer to the last question. I don't know if you guys do testing with SolidWorks PCB or PCB Connector, if you're testing your analysts testing that at all?
Not
I don't think we are. Yeah, I don't think Dell is doing that.
Not currently, but
yep.
That user interface I showed you earlier in my slide deck, We're in the process of building a new version of that, where we're going to be testing uh, all the other variants of SolidWorks, so Composer, simulation, all those other tools, and see how we can automate those.
Cool.
The big thing is making sure that there's an open API for some of those tools that we can go in and start manipulating. So at this point, we don't have anything for PCB or the connector, but it's definitely on our development list in the next year or so to start cranking some of that out.
Awesome. That's this is why we're so happy to partner with you guys. Work at a level of detail that's just amazing for your customers. So, well, I think we're nearly at time, and I wanted to just thank you for the opportunity to come and present to your customers and have a nice chat with you, Bob. It's been a real pleasure. I hope customers have learned a little bit of something along the way, and of course, Computer Aided Technology and Dell are available here to support you and support their customers in any way that we can.
Excellent. I couldn't reiterate it better enough. So thank you very much, Matt. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, likewise. Yep, thanks.